The council hall was silent except for the low hum of the ancient systems that powered the meeting room. The grand room, high above the galaxy's oldest capital planet, was filled with representatives of races whose histories spanned millennia, but even they could not silence the creeping doubt that filled the air. The council had gathered to discuss a new problem, one that had been lingering in the shadows for far too long: the humans of Earth. A species barely a few centuries old, a species that had only just begun to explore the stars, yet their rapid growth and constant defiance of expectations had begun to raise alarms across the galaxy. The humans were unpredictable. No one knew what they were capable of or how far they could reach, and that alone was enough to shake the foundations of the galactic order. An elder alien with silver skin and eyes that had seen the fall of entire civilizations stood at the center of the council table, his voice raspy from age, but still full of authority. He was known as the Keeper of Memories. His species had once ruled the galaxy before being toppled by a force they had never seen coming. The humans, he spoke in slow, measured tones as he revealed an ancient warning from a time long forgotten, a warning from a race that had been erased from existence, a race that had faced the humans before their empire crumbled beneath them. The warning spoke of humanity's relentless adaptability, their ability to survive and thrive under circumstances that would destroy even the most advanced species. The room was filled with murmurs, some skeptical, some intrigued. The alien races present had never been forced to reckon with a species like humanity. They had conquered worlds with ease. They had wiped out entire civilizations who dared to oppose them. But the humans had been different. Their tenacity, their ability to bend the rules of survival and overcome any odds had been unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Some of the more prideful factions scoffed at the very idea that a primitive race could pose any kind of threat to them. They argued that the humans had no power, no advanced technology to compete with the galactic empires that had reigned for eons. But the Keeper of Memories was unmoved. He had seen it before. He had witnessed the rise of countless species who underestimated the humans and paid the price for it. He spoke of their history of conflict and survival, how humanity had fought through war, famine, and disease, how they had come from a species on the brink of extinction to one that now reached for the stars, how they had never stopped evolving, never stopped changing, and how that was the true danger. He spoke of their ability to adapt to any situation, to find a way when there seemed to be no way at all. As he finished his speech, a chilling silence fell over the room. No one spoke for what felt like an eternity, the weight of his words hanging in the air. No one knew what to make of this new threat or how to deal with it. No one but the Keeper of Memories knew the truth. The galaxy was not ready for the humans, and if they didn't understand that, soon they might find themselves facing a new power that would reshape the very fabric of the universe. The decision was made. The council would send a small delegation to Earth to observe the humans up close, to understand what they were truly capable of. But as the delegates prepared to depart, there was a sudden shift in the atmosphere. The humans knew they were being watched, and they had already started preparing for the unknown visitors from the stars. The alien fleet entered Earth's orbit under the cover of darkness, their ships sleek and silent. As they descended toward the blue planet below, the mission was simple: gather intelligence, observe, and leave without leaving a trace. The humans had no idea they were coming, at least that was what the aliens believed. But as the first ship touched down in the atmosphere, the unexpected happened. The aliens had assumed that humanity's primitive technology would be no match for their advanced weaponry and ships. They expected a minor disturbance, perhaps a few amateur attempts to defend their territory. But what they encountered instead was something entirely different. Humanity's defenses were crude, outdated, and yet they carried an undeniable force behind them. As soon as the alien ship descended into Earth's atmosphere, they found themselves under attack, not from advanced military forces, but from what seemed like a relic of the past. A fleet of old human warplanes surged up into the sky, their engines roaring and trailing smoke as they made a beeline for the alien craft. The humans had done their homework. They knew their world had been watched for years, and they were ready. The alien commanders on board the ships looked on in disbelief. They had underestimated the humans they watched as the old warplanes defied expectations, their pilots using decades-old tactics honed over years of conflict against one another in the skies. But they were something more than just skilled pilots. They were driven by the same determination that had carried humanity through every conflict they had ever faced, a raw instinct to survive and protect their home. The aliens fired their weapons with precision and ease, but the humans adapted quickly, using guerrilla tactics and unpredictability that threw the aliens off balance. The warplanes darted and swooped in ways the aliens could not anticipate, their designs made to avoid the latest and most advanced technologies. The humans relied on skill and wit rather than sheer firepower. Within moments, the alien ships were damaged, and retreating the humans had taken them by surprise. Their defenses, which seemed so primitive, had overwhelmed the superior force. The alien commanders scrambled to regroup, but it was clear their enemies were unlike anything they had ever faced before. This was no simple encounter. This was a challenge of mind over matter, a contest of willpower where technology alone would not win the day. As the first battle ended, the humans celebrated, but they did not falter in their arrogance. They understood the stakes too well and knew this was only the beginning. They had forced the aliens back, but there was still much to learn about their adversaries, about the true extent of their capabilities, and the dark secrets that might lie behind their motives. Meanwhile, aboard the retreating alien ships, the commanders exchanged uneasy glances. Their confidence had been shattered. They had been forced to retreat from a species they had once considered a minor threat. Now, they were unsure what to make of them. They couldn't explain how the humans had known how to strike back so quickly, or how they had adapted so perfectly to their weapons and tactics. They couldn't afford another mistake, not with something this unpredictable, not with something so dangerous as humanity. The alien leaders back at the council would need answers, and fast. They couldn't risk another humiliating defeat, but as they turned their gaze back to Earth, they knew one thing for certain: the humans were not to be underestimated. They would need to watch them closer than ever before, for if humanity could rise this quickly, they might be on the verge of something even more terrifying than anyone could imagine. The human command center buzzed with activity as news of the alien retreat spread like wildfire across Earth's major military networks. But the celebrations were short-lived. The victory was significant, but the threat had only just begun. Humanity had barely scratched the surface of understanding what they were up against. Their enemy was far more advanced and far more dangerous than anything they had ever encountered, and Earth's defenses, while effective, were still rudimentary. In a high-security military lab deep underground, a team of the world's brightest minds and strategists gathered around a large holographic map of the solar system. Earth's defenses were spread thin, and communication with the alien fleet was lost, leaving humanity in the dark about their next move. The map flickered with warnings as human intelligence officers relayed fragments of data pieced together from the first engagement. The aliens had attacked with precision, but had underestimated the sheer unpredictability of human tactics. The real question now was why. Dr. Emma Chen, a renowned scientist and one of humanity's top experts on extraterrestrial technology, stood at the center of the room, her mind racing with possibilities. As she studied the data, the aliens had come with superior weaponry far beyond anything humanity possessed. But they had underestimated one thing: the ability of the human spirit to adapt and find ways to overcome insurmountable odds. She turned to General Marcus Quinn, the military leader overseeing Earth's defenses. "We need to think beyond just the fight," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "The aliens might have better technology, but they can't account for how we think, how we use everything at our disposal to win and survive." Quinn nodded grimly. "We're going to need every advantage we can get, Dr. Chen. The next time they come, we can't afford to be caught off guard." The human response was clear. They couldn't beat the aliens in a straight-up fight, not with technology alone, but they could outthink them. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its adaptability, its ability to create in moments of crisis and survive against the odds. This had been the hallmark of human history from the earliest days of the species up to this moment, in the face of their greatest enemy. Back on the front lines, Earth's citizens and military forces began to regroup as new strategies were devised. Old warplanes were retrofitted with experimental technology to counteract the alien weaponry. New training methods were developed that would teach soldiers not only how to fight, but how to think outside the box, how to expect the unexpected. The aliens might have advanced weapons, but humanity had something they couldn't anticipate, a deeply ingrained survival instinct that was both unpredictable and impossible to suppress. And it wasn't just the military that was adapting, even civilians were drawn into the fight as Earth's global communications network activated a call to arms, where scientists, engineers, and everyday citizens were brought into a coordinated effort to devise new technologies and countermeasures. It wasn't just the power of weapons or the size of an army that would determine humanity's fate. It was the collective power of every individual working together as one unified species, determined not to be wiped out by those who underestimated them. In the weeks following the battle, humanity's defenses were not only reinforced, but redefined. Every city was on high alert. New detection systems were put in place, and the rapid development of new weaponry started to take shape. Humanity was on a war footing, but with a unique edge. They were no longer simply defending their world, they were preparing to take the fight to the aliens. Across the galaxy, the alien commanders were in a state of constant debate over the humans' strange resilience. They were not like any species they had faced before. Their ability to adapt to rapidly changing situations was a terrifying unknown one that couldn't be predicted or controlled. The alien leaders had underestimated humanity before, and now they feared that mistake might cost them everything. The reality was setting in. Humanity was not a species to be conquered. They were a species that could not be controlled, and the Galactic Order would need to adapt to the presence of the humans or risk facing a force unlike anything they had ever encountered. As humanity prepared for the next phase of their defense, something unexpected happened. The very nature of their response, their ability to adapt and create on the fly, began to give them something more than just military advantage. It gave them insight. Deep in the hidden underground laboratories, where humanity's best minds were working on advanced countermeasures, they uncovered something astonishing. The data from the aliens' previous attack wasn't just about tactics or weaponry. It was about the aliens themselves. Humanity wasn't just fighting an enemy. They were learning to understand it, piece by piece. Dr. Chen, who had once been solely focused on humanity's survival, now found herself immersed in the history of the alien species they faced. Along with her team, she pored over the information retrieved from the alien ships. The deeper they dug, the more they realized how unique this encounter was. It wasn't just a military battle. It was a fight for survival against an entirely different kind of intelligence, one that didn't simply rely on brute force or advanced technology. It was a species that thrived on precision, control, and the ability to calculate every outcome in advance. But it lacked something the humans had in spades: the ability to adapt at a moment's notice. Through their research, humanity discovered that the aliens had long forgotten the concept of improvisation. Their technology was advanced, yes, but it had become so refined and predictable that they had lost the flexibility to handle something as erratic as human ingenuity. This insight gave humanity a glimmer of hope. It wasn't just about beating the aliens at their own game. It was about showing them that there were forces beyond calculations and machines, things that defied logic and could not be predicted. The breakthrough came one evening when Dr. Chen and General Quinn stood over a holographic display of the alien ship's tech. The alien systems were sophisticated but heavily reliant on fixed protocols. It was an intelligent system, but one bound by rigid algorithms. They had no room for error, no ability to change course once set in motion. But humanity had always thrived on the unpredictable, the ability to improvise, to think outside the box. This revelation could give them the edge they needed to truly outmaneuver their adversaries. "We need to exploit their rigidity," Dr. Chen said, a sharpness in her voice that had never been there before. "They can't anticipate the unexpected. If we use their technology against them, if we break the patterns they expect us to follow, we'll have the upper hand." Quinn's eyes widened as he grasped the significance of her words. So, you're saying we can turn their own strength into a weakness? Dr. Chen nodded. Exactly. They've made themselves predictable by perfecting their systems. It's time we showed them that we don't operate like that. With this newfound understanding, humanity shifted its focus. They didn't just need to defend. They needed to understand the aliens on a level that would allow them to predict the unthinkable, to infiltrate their operations and break their systems from within. And to do that, they would need to embrace every aspect of their own culture, ingenuity, adaptability, and the raw, untamable will to survive. Meanwhile, far beyond Earth, the alien leadership was growing anxious. Reports from the front lines were unsettling, to say the least. The humans' unexpected tactics, their ability to recover and adapt after every strike, were becoming more than just a nuisance. They were becoming a real threat. The previous retreat had been embarrassing, but now the aliens faced a bigger issue. Humanity wasn't just trying to hold their ground anymore. They were learning. And once humans learned something, they mastered it. The alien fleet leaders gathered in an emergency council, their faces grave. We've underestimated them, one of them said, a voice tinged with disbelief. Their unpredictability is their strength, and it's not something we can counter with more firepower. We must find a way to control them before it's too late. But the truth was, they were already too late. Humanity had already begun their counteroffensive, armed with new knowledge, new strategies, and a burning desire to protect their home at all costs. Earth was no longer simply surviving. It was evolving, preparing to rise as a force no one could have predicted. The galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before, the birth of a new power. And humanity was determined to ensure that power would be theirs. The time had come for humanity to shift from defense to offense. The alien fleet, once confident in their superior technology, had been forced to pull back in the face of humanity's unpredictable tactics. But that brief respite was over. The humans had learned too much, adapted too fast, and now, armed with the knowledge of their enemy's weaknesses, they were ready to strike. General Quinn stood at the helm of Earth's newly assembled coalition of forces, an alliance forged not only between nations but between species. It wasn't just humans fighting anymore. The galaxy's smaller, oppressed races, those who had been crushed under the alien boot for eons, had rallied to Earth's side. They saw humanity's struggle as their own. They saw in humanity's resistance the first glimmer of hope they had felt in centuries. And so they came, from every corner of the galaxy, to stand together with humanity. The coalition was not a unified fleet of polished ships and elite warriors. It was a ragtag force, made up of those who had once been cast aside. Some of them had no more than a handful of ships, others had only the most rudimentary weapons. But there was something unique about them, something that set them apart from the advanced alien races who had once ruled the galaxy. They were survivors, like humanity, and together, they would face a common enemy. The humans had brought together their best and brightest minds, their military leaders, and their everyday citizens who had become soldiers out of necessity. The old warplanes, retrofitted with alien technology, were now part of an enormous fleet that spanned the skies. What they lacked in technology, they'd made up for in creativity, ingenuity, and sheer determination. But the aliens, aware of humanity's resilience, were preparing their own response. The alien fleet had regrouped, readying their forces for a full-scale assault on Earth. They had underestimated humanity before, and now they were terrified. The thought that these humans, these simple creatures, could challenge their superiority was more than their pride could bear. They would not make the same mistake again. As the alien fleet approached Earth's orbit, the coalition fleet stood ready, its ships lined up in formation, the hum of engines reverberating through their vessels. Quinn's voice crackled over the comms, his words strong and resolute. "We've come this far together, and now we fight not just for our planet, but for every species that has suffered under alien tyranny. We will not fall, and we will not be conquered." Dr. Chen, standing in the war room alongside Quinn, nodded in agreement. The aliens think they can defeat us with their advanced technology and precise strategies, but they don't understand what it means to fight with everything we have, to fight for survival. That's what they've never faced before. As Earth's fleet began to move toward the alien ships, a deep silence fell over the war room. All the data they had gathered, all the strategies they had devised, came to fruition. The first wave of alien ships opened fire with an intensity never seen before. Their weapons rained down on the coalition fleet, but humanity's fighters, unpredictable and fierce, darted in and out of the enemy's line of fire. It was a battle not of sheer power but of will, of minds clashing on a galactic scale. One by one, the alien ships fell. The humans used the aliens' own tactics against them, turning their perfect strategies into blind spots, exploiting weaknesses the aliens had never considered. And as each alien ship was destroyed, the survivors began to realize something they had feared from the beginning. They were fighting a force that couldn't be reasoned with, that couldn't be bought off, and that would never bow down. Humanity had no plans of surrendering. In the heat of battle, the coalition began to turn the tide. The alien fleet's precision began to falter, their once perfect formations crumbled. They had misjudged the power of unity, of thousands of species coming together, each one contributing in ways the aliens could never have predicted. This wasn't just about firepower. This was about collective strength, the ability to adapt, and the unstoppable force of humanity's determination to survive. The battle raged on, and the aliens, stunned by the scale of humanity's resistance, realized that they had severely underestimated what this young species could accomplish. As the first wave of alien ships retreated, the humans didn't rest. They pressed forward. They knew the war was far from over, but they had struck a blow that would resonate across the galaxy. Humanity had shown them something the galaxy's greatest minds had feared, that even against the most advanced empire, survival would always find a way. The retreat of the alien fleet was not the end of the war, but a new beginning. The momentum humanity had gained after the first victory was powerful, but they knew the aliens would return with even more determination and greater force. The coalition fleet had tasted victory, but the reality of the conflict's scale set in. The aliens were not just fighting for their survival, they were fighting to preserve their dominion over the galaxy. They had lost a battle, but they had not lost the war. Back on Earth, the cities that had once been under constant threat now buzzed with a strange sense of hope. Humanity's rapid response had been nothing short of miraculous, but it had also drawn the attention of far more than just the aliens. Other factions across the galaxy, ones that had been watching from the shadows, now began to emerge from their hiding places. Some of them were desperate for a way to topple the alien powers. Others simply wanted to see the result of this cosmic clash. They all saw what humanity had done, and they wanted to be a part of it. Dr. Chen and General Quinn stood at the head of a new council, a unified body that included not just human leaders but representatives from dozens of alien species. The room was filled with people who had been crushed under the heel of the alien empire for generations, but now they were united by a common cause. They would fight back. They had all witnessed how humanity, despite its small and relatively young stature in the galaxy, had taken on an empire much older and more powerful, and succeeded. It was something none of them had believed was possible. "We've proven we can defend ourselves," General Quinn said, his voice steady as he addressed the council. "But we need to prepare for the next phase. The aliens will come back stronger, angrier. They won't underestimate us again. We need to be ready, not just for their next attack, but for whatever they throw at us." Dr. Chen nodded, her gaze focused on the holographic display of the galaxy. "We've learned so much from them. Their strengths, their weaknesses, how they operate. Now it's time to use that information to strike at the heart of their empire. We don't just need to defend Earth. We need to take the fight to them." The room fell silent as the implications of Dr. Chen's words settled in. It wasn't enough to simply repel the aliens from Earth's orbit. They had to show the galaxy that humanity wasn't just a survivor. It was a force that could reshape the balance of power. It would take every ounce of creativity, resourcefulness, and sheer willpower to strike at the heart of the alien empire. But the humans, and their allies, had learned to never back down from impossible odds. Over the next several weeks, the coalition began to mobilize its forces for a new offensive. Humanity's engineers and scientists had begun developing weapons and technology designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses they had uncovered in the alien systems. Alien ships were studied, reverse-engineered, and repurposed. Earth's warplanes had already adapted to counteract the aliens' superior technology, and now, humans were finding ways to use their own ingenuity to build weapons that could disrupt the aliens' most devastating assets. But the true advantage humanity held wasn't just in their weapons, it was in their minds. Every victory had shown that humans could adapt faster, think more unpredictably, and find ways to fight even when all the odds were stacked against them. The Coalition's new strategy wasn't just to engage the alien fleets head-on, but to target their supply lines, their infrastructure, and their command centers. The aliens had no concept of humanity's resourcefulness. They assumed that once they destroyed Earth, the rest of the galaxy would fall in line. But they had failed to account for the one thing humanity never lacked: imagination. As Earth prepared for the next phase of the war, a sense of urgency gripped the entire planet. The pressure was immense, but so was the resolve. Humanity had come to understand something fundamental. This was no longer about defense. This was about taking the fight to the heart of the galaxy and showing the universe that humanity, no matter how young, had the power to shift the balance of power. They would fight not just for survival, but for a new future, one where they would never again be subjugated, where their creativity, adaptability, and indomitable spirit would stand as the new foundation of galactic strength. The aliens had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to learn, to change, and to grow. And now, humanity was about to teach them that underestimating the human spirit came with a price the galaxy would soon come to understand all too well. The night before the Coalition's next major strike, a sense of quiet determination settled over Earth's forces. The battle ahead would be unlike any they had fought before. It would take everything they had learned, every ounce of courage, and the full strength of their new alliance. General Quinn stood alone in the war room, staring at a holographic map of the galaxy, his mind racing. He knew what was at stake. The aliens had underestimated humanity once, and now they had crossed the line. The time for defense was over. It was time to show the galaxy that humanity was no longer just a species trying to survive. It was a species determined to reshape its destiny. Dr. Chen walked into the room, her eyes fixed on the map as well. She had spent the past few weeks fine-tuning the strategies they would implement, strategies that would take advantage of every weakness they had identified in the alien empire. Humanity had come a long way since the first engagement, and now they were ready to strike at the heart of the enemy. She spoke first, her voice calm but resolute. "They're not expecting this, Marcus. We've mapped out their supply routes, their communication networks, their weak points. Tomorrow, we hit them where it hurts." Quinn didn't look up from the map, but nodded slowly. "I know, Emma, but we need to be careful. We can't just throw everything we have at them. They'll be ready for that. We need to be strategic. We need to hit fast and hard, then vanish before they can retaliate." She agreed, tapping a few commands into her terminal. "I've been working with the fleet commanders. We've designed a new kind of attack, one that will confuse and scatter their forces. If we can disrupt their communications, isolate their supply lines, and make them feel like they're fighting on multiple fronts, we can break their resolve." Quinn paused, thinking it through. The aliens are used to having control. If we can take that control away from them, they'll be forced to react unpredictably. We'll take advantage of that. We'll hit them with everything we've got. But we need to keep the pressure on, never give them a chance to regroup. The plan was set. The next morning, Earth's fleet, now a formidable force composed of a coalition of species, launched the first wave of attacks. The ships, both human and alien designed, cut through space with a precision born of necessity and desperation. The enemy didn't see them coming. The humans had learned from their last encounter, and this time they attacked with speed, employing hit-and-run tactics that left the aliens scrambling to respond. In the heart of the alien fleet's operations, the shockwaves from the assault reverberated throughout their command structure. The first target, an alien supply hub located on the outskirts of a neighboring star system. It was a vital link in their logistics chain, and if it was taken out, it would cripple their ability to resupply their fleets for months. The humans hit hard, using guerrilla tactics that had become their trademark. They knew the aliens expected precision and order, so they delivered chaos. It was a disorienting, terrifying blow. The alien fleet scrambled to reposition, their once unshakable resolve crumbling under the weight of the unexpected. Communications were disrupted, and ships collided as they tried to reorganize. Humanity's success wasn't just about firepower. It was about exploiting the aliens' inability to adapt to the unknown. Dr. Chen and Quinn watched from the command center as their fleet made its strike. The first wave of attacks was only the beginning. The second wave came just as the aliens began to regroup. This time, humanity didn't just target their ships. They hit their supply routes, disabling the hyperlane systems the aliens had used for quick travel between systems. It was a masterstroke, an attack on their mobility that would leave the alien forces stranded and vulnerable. As the strikes continued, the alien leadership back in their command ships began to realize the full extent of their miscalculation. Their control over the battlefield was slipping. The precise, calculated war they had waged for centuries was now being undone by a species that had never played by the rules. They were losing ground, fast, and they couldn't figure out how to stop it. For the first time in this war, fear gripped the alien leadership. They had underestimated humanity before, but now they saw the full power of the species that would never give up, no matter the cost. Humanity's resilience wasn't just about surviving. It was about reshaping the world around them, bending it to their will. As the battle raged on, Quinn looked to Dr. Chen, a rare glimmer of satisfaction in his eyes. "We're doing it. We're actually doing it." Dr. Chen allowed herself a smile, but it was brief. "We're not done yet. Not by a long shot." The war was far from over, but for the first time, humanity had the upper hand. The aliens had thought they could break Earth's spirit, but they had only succeeded in awakening something far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. A united, unstoppable force. The battle had just begun, and the galaxy was about to witness the rise of humanity as a true power. The battle had raged for weeks, and the tide was unmistakably turning in humanity's favor. The alien fleet, once so sure of its superiority, had been thrown into disarray. The relentless strikes, the ingenuity of the humans, and their allies from across the galaxy have forced the invaders into retreat after retreat. Their once great empire, built on fear and control, was now fractured, crumbling under the weight of the unpredictable tactics humanity had brought to the battlefield. General Quinn stood at the forefront of Earth's command center, his eyes glued to the tactical holograms that spun before him. The alien fleet was broken into pieces, isolated and stranded across the galaxy, their once mighty ships unable to regroup. The supply chains they relied on had been severed, and their communications were in chaos. The humans had done the impossible. They had turned the tables and given the galaxy a new hope. But despite the victories, Quinn knew they weren't finished yet. There was still one final strike to make, one last blow to deal that would completely shatter the alien forces. It wasn't just about winning. It was about ending the war once and for all. And that meant striking directly at the alien heart, at the central command ship, the nerve center of the entire alien empire. The stakes had never been higher. If they failed, the aliens would regroup, and all of humanity's hard-earned victories would be for nothing. The final battle was now inevitable, and every fighter, every ship, every soul on Earth knew the importance of this moment. They couldn't afford to fail. Dr. Chen had been working tirelessly with her team to finalize the strategy. The alien command ship is heavily fortified, she said, her voice calm but urgent. We need to hit it with everything we've got. But we also need to take out their communication relay. If we do that, we can keep them from calling for reinforcements. This has to be a one-shot deal. There's no time for second chances. Quinn nodded grimly, his mind racing. They had faced impossible odds before, but this was different. This wasn't just another skirmish or a disruption. This was the endgame, the point at which everything would either fall into place or shatter. The weight of responsibility bore down on him, but he had seen the resolve of the human spirit in every soldier, every civilian who had taken up arms. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for a new future. The final strike began as the coalition fleet approached the alien command ship. Humanity's ships, now armed with the latest technology and battle-tested strategies, moved like a well-oiled machine. The allies from distant corners of the galaxy followed their lead, trusting in the humans' ability to lead them to victory. As the fleet closed in on the command ship, the first wave of fighters launched their attack. Alien defenses, once so sure and unbreakable, now seemed sluggish and disoriented. Humanity's speed, unpredictability, and sheer audacity were overwhelming. The alien forces tried to regroup, but it was clear the humans had already anticipated their every move. The communication relay fell first, and then the heart of the alien fleet, the command ship, was next. Explosions rocked the alien vessel as the coalition forces tore through its defenses. The alien leaders, unable to coordinate their forces, were powerless to stop the onslaught. The tide had turned irreversibly, and the alien empire's once unstoppable might was now being erased by the very species they had once underestimated. As Quinn watched the final moments unfold on the screen, a sense of quiet satisfaction settled over him. They had done it. Against all odds, against all expectations, humanity had defeated an empire that had ruled the galaxy for eons. The aliens had underestimated them, but in the end, it was humanity's greatest strength that had won the day. The ability to adapt, to learn, and to fight with everything they had. Dr. Chen stood next to him, a faint smile on her lips. "We've done it, Marcus. It's over." Quinn looked out at the stars, a quiet, resolute pride in his heart. It's just the beginning. The galaxy had witnessed the birth of a new power, and humanity's place in it would never be the same again. The war was over, but their story was only beginning.